Hello YouTube, Josh here with the channel zzzgiantawake, and I wanted to talk to you today about two fallacies that I feel I see far too often in our conversations. The two fallacies I wanted to talk to you today about are the fallacy of the straw man and the fallacy of hasty generalization. You may already be familiar with both fallacies, but in case you weren't, I wanted to quickly review. A straw man fallacy is an informal fallacy in which one party misrepresents the position of another party in a way that seems superficially similar, but is weaker, then rebuts the second position that they had just created for the other party. For example, Susan and Bill are talking about abortion rights. Susan states that she's pro-abortion right because she feels that it's ultimately a woman's decision under what circumstances she's willing to carry a pregnancy to full term. Bill, her would-be adversary, is claiming that Susan is arguing that women should be able to have abortions whenever they feel like it, so that way they don't have to think about the ramifications of romantic relationships. Then Bill goes and lists all of the ramifications that both her and any partner can have by being sexually promiscuous. In Susan's original point, she didn't advocate anything, really. She was just primarily concerned about a woman's right to choose. Whereas when Bill made an argument against her position, he actually was not arguing against her original point, but against the point that he stated that she had. Now would be a good time for me to point out that not all people who argue against pro-choice use the straw man fallacy, which actually brings me to my second fallacy, which is the fallacy of hasty generalization. Hasty generalization is when a conclusion or an argument is made from insufficient evidence or evidence from a biased source. Now this fallacy is very commonplace, especially when it comes to social rights. So you can probably think of lots of examples, so I don't need to give you one, but here's one anyways. Here's one that I've heard all too often about atheists. Atheists act like they don't believe in God because they don't want to give up their sin. That's why I used to be an atheist. While there are many fallacies in that line of reasoning, the most blatant one to me is that the person making that type of a claim is basing it on solely their experience. Personal experience is a good thing. I actually draw lots of my conclusions from my personal experience. But personal experience, when it comes to making a generalization about a group, or even if you surveyed a small portion of the group, is often not sufficient enough evidence to make that type of a claim, and can also be found to have biases. So why do I bring these fallacies up? The reason that I created this channel was to start conversations. Now, I don't want the conversations to be limited to just this medium of YouTube. I actually want you to take these conversations or these ideas to the conversations around you. Many of the conversations that are going to be available to you are going to be with people of faith, and they're not going to be as rigid or as structured as, say, a debate. In a debate, while fallacies are frowned upon, they can sometimes be used to illustrate certain points. Also, in comedy, these types of fallacies are great for creating the lulls. One thing that comes quickly to mind is the zombie Jesus idea. But in an intimate setting, such as with a friend or two friends, especially if you're more knowledgeable about the subject matter than they are, using these types of fallacies are conversation killers. If you misrepresent the other person's position, even in a way that would be true for most people holding that position, they'll totally disregard what you have to say because you're not addressing their position. Also, if you misrepresent them or people that they care about, you'll get a similar result. They'll stop listening to you. But if you listen and show interest in what they're saying, try to relate to them, they just might try and listen back. And oftentimes, they are your only audience. Besides, I want to be the type of person who beats these arguments at the best level that they can show me.